Have you ever wondered how much money you need to be considered upper class? Is it house in the suburbs, country club membership, or maybe yacht status? Well, today we're going to be going over and breaking down the 6 levels of wealth in America. And just a couple of years ago, I was in college, door dashing, scraping to get by. And last month, I actually had my best month ever in real estate and made over $100,000. So that's why I'll be breaking down the real income levels in America from some recent data that came out and how you can actually move up no matter where you are today. And not just the basic advice that everyone seems to give. I remember when I was watching these videos, people would just say, save your money and invest in a 401k and you'll be great. And then I would go and DoorDash for $7, have no 401k and be like, what do I do? So I'll break down the actionable steps that you can do in each level and how you can actually progress. Now, there is one thing that you need to know to determine where you stand, and that's the difference between income and wealth. And while they seem like they roughly mean the same thing, they're not quite. See, income is how much money you actually earn each year. We call this cash flow in real estate, but you can think about it as your salary or your salary plus your side hustle income, while wealth is your net worth. And it's just a fancy word that means take everything that you own that has value, so your car, your house, and subtract it by all of your liabilities, basically all of your debts. Could be your student loan, your car loan, your mortgage, and that number left over, that is your net worth. And yes, it can be negative. Now, understanding the difference between these two numbers will actually help you understand where you are and where you need to put your focus. For example, my senior year of college, I bought my first rental property because I knew real estate was a great way to build wealth. But what I didn't realize was in order to build wealth, you first need to build your income and then invest that income into assets. Instead, I reversed this and jumped right away into buying assets, but had no income, which meant even though I had a rental property in college, I was still broke. And if you're just getting started, I know that a lot of these finance concepts seem high level and hard to understand, but I know when I started, I just wanted someone to explain everything as simple as possible. So I'll break down every concept as easy as possible, and I'll put actionable steps that you can follow. Okay, let's get started with level 1. This is the lower income, which is roughly 20% of people. At this point, you have a net worth of roughly $14,000. But remember, this doesn't mean that you have $14,000 in the bank account, but rather everything that you own minus everything that you owe is roughly $14,000. Now, your income at this level is around $21,000 a year, and I think that we could all say that living on $21,000 anywhere in the United States, no matter where you are, is not going to leave a lot of room for saving and investing. And this was me when I got my first job working at a golf course, and also when I was door dashing, just scraping it by in college, making a couple $100 a week with no money left over to save and invest. So if you're in this section, you're probably already living pretty frugally. No advice on cutting back or investing in index funds is going to help you. I think the most important thing at this level is raising your income. You can either focus on getting a raise, working more hours, or switching jobs, or you can try to build a side hustle that brings you some additional income. Now, if you do decide to go down the side hustle route, I would say it needs to be something that has little to no upfront cost and can make you money guaranteed. That's why I wouldn't go start a drop shipping store or become a day trader, but rather do something guaranteed like driving Uber on the weekends if you have a car, or picking up a side job like bartending or waiting tables, even if it's just a couple extra hours a week. At this point, every dollar counts, and net worth honestly doesn't really mean that much. I would focus wholeheartedly on raising your income. That is until you reach level 2, the lower middle income. This is the next 20% of people with a net worth of around $71,000 and a median income of $44,000. I think that this income range is one of the biggest traps in America. You've climbed your way out of poverty, and now you have a better job, more money, but you might still be living paycheck to paycheck. At this level, the key is to learn money management, because no matter how much more money you make, if you don't learn it now, you'll always regret it. The most important step at this level is to first create a budget. That means that month 1, you're tracking all of your expenses, either with a budgeting app that does it automatically or through Google Spreadsheets, and I'll put a link below to my favorite budgeting apps. You need to first understand where your money is actually going, then you can categorize it and create a budget. You can always use something like the 50-30-20 rule, where you spend 50% of your income on needs, 30% on wants, and 20% for saving, investing, and paying off debt. And if you really hate numbers, this might be a strategy for you, but personally, I like zero-based budgeting. All this means is that you give every dollar a job. For example, let's say you earn $4,000 a month. You might set aside $1,200 for rent, $400 for utilities and Wi-Fi, another $600 for your car payment and insurance, $700 for grocery and food, $300 for savings, $500 for investing, and $300 for fun. Every dollar has a specific category. Before you earn each dollar, you already decide where it's gonna go. If you have a predictable income, this is gonna allow you to master where your money is going, and as you continue to make more money, your net worth will grow and grow. The second thing that you need to do at this stage is to build your emergency fund. If you're single, you should aim for around 3 months of expenses saved up. If you have kids or dependents, it should be around 6 months. If you have a business or your job or income is just not that stable, I would aim for around 12 to 18 months of income. Now, you don't need to max this out right away, but just by saving a little bit each week, it's gonna start to build up. Not only will your emergency fund give you peace of mind, but it'll also protect you against anything that goes wrong. Let's say you're driving to work and your car breaks down. Well, now you can't go to work and you're spending all of your money trying to fix your car. You don't have enough money for Ubers and you're at risk of losing your job. Instead, if you have an emergency fund, all of this could have been solved. Okay, let's go to level 3, the middle class. This is where you have a net worth of around $159,000 and an income of around $71,000. This is our teachers, police officers, truck drivers, the backbone of America, and this is where comfort starts to set in. You might have a house, a car, go on a couple vacations a year, and you're not worried if your credit card is gonna bounce at the grocery line, but you're also not buying luxury handbags. At this point, you're earning just enough to feel comfortable, but if you're not careful, at this level, you'll end up working until you drop. And being in the middle class sadly doesn't mean that you necessarily feel financially secure. Even though you might have a good job and have started investing, sometimes you can feel like you're just not doing enough. But as long as you follow these tips, you will be okay. 1 out of 5 Americans have nothing saved up for retirement. So at this level, you have 3 important things to do. First, cut out any and all waste. Since you're no longer scraping for every penny, you might not be budgeting in the same way that you were before, but even if you are, you can do simple things like paying for subscriptions up front instead of monthly. If you don't already know, a lot of subscriptions will offer you a 10 to 50% discount just by paying up front. And if you're spending a couple $100 a month on subscriptions, this could save you nearly $1,000 a year. The second thing is improving your credit score. At this point, you probably have a car, a house, or both, and improving your credit score will help improve your interest rate, which on something like a house or a car could save you hundreds of dollars a month. The last must do at this point is investing in your retirement accounts. If your job offers you a 401k match, that's literally free money. And if not, no big deal. You can always invest into a Roth IRA and grow your money tax-free. Investing just $10 a day from age 25 to age 65 would allow you to grow over a $1.5 million portfolio in that account alone. Okay, now moving on to the upper middle class. People here are earning over $115,000 and have a median net worth of over $300,000. At this point, you're in a nice neighborhood, you got a nice car, you go on great vacations, and on a day-to-day basis, you probably don't have any money worries. But you do have 2 main things that you should be doing, and although you already have a pretty good job or you're self-employed, you're still probably trading your time for money. Meaning, if you're self-employed, if you don't keep pushing, your income will drop. Or if you have a job, it's not like you can take off whenever you want. So how do you go about not trading your time for money? This is where you start focusing on your assets and investing. If you remember before, I talked about how I bought a rental property, but I didn't have any income at that point. Well, now you can start investing in rental properties because you do have the income, and those properties will supplement your income. Yeah, it might just be $500 a month per property, and it's not going to change your life. But quickly, $500 becomes $5,000 a month, and soon you'll be able to live off your investments. This is the true financial freedom that everybody hopes for, where how much you earn is no longer connected to how much time you spend on something. And if rental properties aren't your thing, you can always invest passively into a business or buy something like dividend stocks. Personally, I love dividends and real estate because for me, having enough cash flow equals financial freedom. And of course, at this point, you should be maxing out all of your retirement accounts. This is your 401k, your Roth IRA, and your HSA. Now, the upper class. At this point, the median income is over $189,000 and the median net worth is over $740,000. At this point, you're working a great job, making great money, but even though the median net worth at this point is over $740,000, half of the people at this level have a net worth of under $100,000. And if that's the case, you need to make the shift from earning to building assets. You're at the point where your income is high, and now if you start putting your money to work, work, your net worth will explode. But if you've already been building assets, this is the time where you start structuring your finances professionally. This could mean meeting with a tax strategist to set up a family trust or a financial advisor to help you diversify your money. Just make sure that you're not paying a percentage base, because that can really start to add up. Just a 1% fee will take 25% of your total returns. So instead, look for a fee-based advisor. Now, the top 10%. This is the rich, the elite, the wealthy. The median income in this group is over $378,000 a year, and the median net worth is over $2.5 million, while the top 1% is earning over $800,000 a year with a net worth in the tens of millions of dollars. At this point, people are in one of three buckets. They're either top executives at companies like a CEO, they could also be self-employed and own their own business, or they're earning their money from their investments. These people have a ton of influence because everybody wants their money. For example, Bill Gates, who donated over $50 million to Kamala Harris this last election, or Elon Musk, who donated over $280 million to Trump. Another key point is that most of the income that's received at this level isn't actually through salary, but rather things like capital gains or stock that's taxed at a lower rate. Now, my goal isn't just getting to this level, but helping others reach financial freedom. So now that you know where you're at, what do you do now? First, you need to be completely honest on where you're at currently, and there's no shame in where you start. In fact, now that you know where you're at, you can create a game plan. If you want to move from level 1 to level 2, the key is to focus on raising your income. If you want to move from level 2 to level 3, you need to create a budget and track every dollar. If you want to move from level 3 to level 4, you have to begin to start investing and letting your money work for you. If you want to move from level 4 to level 5, you have to focus on buying back your time and diversifying your income. Remember, you don't need to start with money, connections, or any special knowledge. You now know where you're at and what you need to do to level up. If you guys made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Comment what your next steps are, and I'll see you guys in the next one.